At one time, it would take me about an hour to leather this car, because I was just super fast at that time. Of course, like I say, I'm rusty now. Good Lord, it's been several years now since I've even picked up a brush. Unless I just to show my grandkids what Papa could do, you know. I did show them with my brushes. Now every time they come to my shop, they want to pick up their brush and they want to paint with my brushes. Of course, I don't like to do that because these brushes now are very, very expensive. That brush I got in my hand right there was probably a $20 brush. I remember back when I was going gung-ho in the lettering, that brush would probably be about $3. Of course, that's way back yonder, too. I know gasoline used to be 15 cents, too, but not now. Not now. These brushes are very, very expensive. So I got some old ones there, and I let them play with them, and that way they won't destroy what brushes I've got left. I still got my old sign box, and still got all my colors in it. I would need if I was to go somewhere and letter something like this right here. I didn't have to go buy any paint, anything. I already had it there. Of course, it skims over after a while. If you don't get the lids real good and tight, any paint's going to skim over. Of course, I just bust that skim and stir up the paint and just keep on going. You'll notice here now that this is Southern Generator, not Iterator. As I explained a while ago, sometimes I'll leave a space for a letter, and I'll go back and do that letter, a round letter. I'll go back and get it, catch it, and then just letter that one letter. I've got to where this paint was working so bad that I work it out on the side of my can now. These brushes actually are kind of stiff on me. I try to keep them oiled up, but when I opened up my box this time, it seemed like the oil had dried up in them or something. But I got through it. I mean, I'll always come out somehow or other getting ready. I'm using transmission fluid on the brushes now. I wouldn't use anything but neat's foot oil. Of course, neat's foot oil is what they use to oil saddles with on horses and saddles to keep them pliable, keep it all pliable. And you notice now I've stripped off my top of my tape there, and I'll strip off the middle one there. And that G is still not there. I don't remember. Yeah, I'm going to strip off the bottom. No, I don't think I will, because I think I got that connected with the next letter. Now you notice I went back, caught the bottom of that O. There's that little finger. Found a good dry spot to sit it. I'm just rounding off any round areas that got flattened by the tape. There's a technique I use, like a lot of sign writers use. You can take that rag and rub it up the side of your nose to get you the oils off your nose. That's what I just did. And pick up any stain that you may leave behind. I'm just going back and checking, making sure I got everything as square as possible. It doesn't show on the video, but some of it was a little shaky because, like I say, it's been so long. And I'm going to try not to ever let it be that long again before I pick up a brush. Because so many people have asked me to letter this for them, do this, ask me, can you still letter like you used to? I said, well, I guess I can. I said, I can still ride a bicycle. Once after you've learned how to do something, you don't never forget it. You may get rusty in it. You may not be as fast as you used to be. And you may not do as good a job as you used to. But I've always loved doing just what I'm doing right there now. And if I could, I'd open me up a shop tomorrow and hand letter everything. But, of course, nobody can make a living doing that now. I believe myself and a couple other sign painters are the last ones left that could actually letter. I know this Don, I can't remember his name now, but he's over on Trinity Lane. He still does some of it, but not near what we used to, because good Lord, those machines are just so fast. And you call me back 20 years from now and say, Mr. Beckler, I need you to do that particular truck for me. I've got it in the computer. All I do is just tell the computer, I need this sign, and here it'll come. It'll bring it up, I'll cut it, and a lot of times before you can even get to my shop, I've got it ready to go. And that's the difference. It's just everything is cut and dried. That's the reason I made patterns for this particular job here. I just wanted to make sure that I got everything as authentic as possible. I didn't want it to ever look different from what Johnny had when he was racing. I see one of the boys kind of helping me there with he brought me a creeper for me to sit on as I try to do those letters at the bottom. I'm just stiff as a board. I just can't go like I used to go. I used to get down on the floor and just jump up, Boy, I can't jump up now. I'm just stiff as a board. I was like anybody with my age, Here I go, I'm going to do the word service now. Start with that S. You make the center stroke of the S. Come grab the back side and come back around. Taper off your square part of your S. Now that S is, like I say now, it dropped just below the line. If you made the same as the rest of the letters, it always looks smaller. And I learned that so many years ago. At one time I tried to make all my letters the same size. And an old sign painter said, Ken, you got to drop all your round letters down below the line and above the line to make them look uniform. So that's what I did. I started doing it. Sure enough, it's been that way ever since. I don't know how long I've been on this particular door, but like I say, at one time, I could have had this done in just a few minutes. I've lettered cars for just about, like I say, just about everybody out there. Some of the boys still remember me as lettering their cars. Some of the car owners still remember me lettering. Now we are working on the word service, of course. You know, for years I lettered the pace cars at the fairground. Hand lettered them. And then switched over to decals back in probably 65. And I just about hand cut all the decals because Mr. Donahoe wanted the letters to reflect. So that's what I did. I started making them out of reflective material, Scotch Light. And at night they would really show up. Now when I get down at the bottom of these bottom letters, I kind of use what we call a round tip letter. I don't square everything off with the address, I believe it is. The next line of lettering is the address. I believe it says something like 510 Broadway or 901 or something like that. And when I get down there, I just kind of let my brush flow into a round curl at the bottom, at the top. That way you don't waste a lot of time squaring off every little thing. Now I could, but there's no use in it because that letter that small down, that far down is going to be okay. Okay, we're about through with the generator side of this thing, and I believe we're going to switch on to the other side. Just as quick as I get the address down at the bottom, we'll switch over, and on the other side it's going to have Capital Chevrolet. Back in the day, somehow or another, Johnny got an engine from Capital Chevrolet, and of course he ran Capital Chevrolet on the side. Those engines are kind of expensive even back then. The little 327s were very expensive. Now I finished the major part of this thing now. I'm going to go back now and pull out that center piece of tape. Get everything evened up. Having a little bit of trouble getting the tape to come loose. I used to have a habit of folding the end of the tape. Now if you look real close, you'll see the top of that C is flat, and the bottom of it's kind of flat. The S, it's kind of flat. Well, it's hard to see from here, but it's kind of flat. Now the O up there, see, I just rounded off the bottom of that O, which it was flat from the tape. I'll just pull that off. You can see the top of that C is still flat. That's probably what I'm going to do is try to fix that C. I've seen a little divot up there, so I fixed that. Now the top of that C, I'll round that off. I have to pull my tape off. The bottom of that E is a little skinny. Sometimes hard to see, and so you have to go back and kind of look at things. I'm trying to get myself in a position to do what I call a fast letter on the bottom down there where the address is. That's a 9 right there, but I'm not going to square it all off. It's just going to be a round top letter. Now you'll notice now, you won't see me go back and square it off. It's just a round top and bottom. If my brush leaves a little rag at the bottom, I'll even it up a little bit. It's a little bit faster this way. And I'm sitting in such an awkward position. Like I say, at one time when I was in my day, you know, I'd get down on my knees and a lot of that. But good Lord, I'd hate to think I got on my knees today, especially weighing over 250 pounds. It kind of hurts your knees, I believe. So I can't do that anymore. I believe that's 910 4th Avenue South is about what I'm getting ready to letter there. 910 4th Avenue South. Notice that little finger. Just about stays on that car all the time. I don't suggest anybody learn how to do it. I mean, you can learn with a maul stick, but it's just the way I did it. I mean, mine was just more or less just freewheeling. I never did get used to a maul stick. Over the years, I guess, there's just no telling how many cars I lettered. There's no telling how many trucks and trailers I've lettered. Just no telling. Ain't no way to ever go back and find out. But we've lettered tons of them. Myself as well as my crew. I went through many, many, many people in my day. The most notable to me was my two brothers, Larry and John. I call John Dave, of course. Larry and John were my two right and left-hand men. I'm telling you, they just helped me to do everything. A little aggravating at times, working with your family. You're not as apt to jump onto them like you do just a normal employee. But they aggravated me at times, but I loved them, and now they're both gone. Larry died of some sort of blood condition that he never was able to get over with, and after they did an operation on him, he never was able to heal, and they had to wind up taking his leg off. And as time went on, it just killed him. There's nothing could have been done about it. Some sort of blood poisoning, blood condition, nobody, I think, really knows. And Dave died with lung cancer. And I sure miss them both. It's just almost unreal for me to go in that shop, and I remember so many times calling over the loudspeaker, Dave. I remember him, what? You know, I remember that so well. Larry Wayne, what do you want? You know, Larry was the body man around the shop. Larry was the body man for Charles as he raced many, many years, some 13 years. John was always in the crew, but Dave was always, he was my, I guess, my right-hand man for sure. Now I'm getting ready to go to the other side to do Capital Chevrolet. And that'll be that's another way. I've got a bigger letter to deal with on that side. But you'll see how I deal with it. I take that same brush, still got the same black paint on it, using the same can of paint, and I'm going to go over and do the Capital Chevrolet. I'll make an inline and outline, then fill it in with that little brush. A lot of people say, well, why didn't you use a bigger brush? Well, you can control a little brush better. So now I'm getting ready to get up. I'm going to try to get up. I'm sitting on this creeper, and it sure makes it hard to get up with that creeper moving out from under me. So I'm up, just about up now. His old legs just won't hardly lift this big old, I guess I'd have to say, his big fat body. Because that's literally what it is, a big fat body. Now let's move around to the other side. No, I tell you what, let's do the trunk first. That way it gives me a little opportunity to stand up and stretch my legs a little and get a little more comfortable. I'm checking it here, making sure that it's running pretty straight. I don't have any problem with that at all. I usually can lay it up there, and there it is. I mean, it's straight. And I've got a pretty good eye of what's level and what's not. Now I'm going to get my chalk bag and go back around. We're going to pounce it on. This was a restaurant downtown. It's called the Embers Restaurant. I don't know how many people remember that restaurant, but they had real good steaks. And of course, it's always too expensive for me to eat in, but they had real good steaks, and I understand it was a kind of a high-end restaurant there on 4th Avenue. You notice now I'm putting the chalk all over it and getting a good covering of chalk. I'll remove the pattern now and get my trusty black paint and go to lettering that part of it. I turn around and give these patterns to the people I letter the car for. One day they may need to do a touch-up or something on it. So I just give the patterns to them. You notice now I've got the same brush here. I don't change brushes very often. If it'll do it in 2 strokes, I'll keep it. Had so much paint on my hand there, I had to wipe some of it off. Here's that piece of tape at the top of the letter where it says home of the flame-kissed steaks, I believe where it says it. Home of the, flame-kissed steaks. And it's a joy to be able to sit down and explain to you what's going on, what I'm doing here. And it's just a joy to be able to do that. I'm smoothing down it, get it down as close as I can there, and there won't be no paint running under. and Joe's standing there in front of the camera. He'll move in here in a second, and I'll get started with the word embers. I think he's going to move. I just don't know. Because he didn't know I had the camera sitting there, I don't think. Okay, now I'm starting out with this E. On the script letter, when it's kind of on the surface like that, you can kind of load your brush up, because you really can't make too many mistakes with a script letter as long as you're moving fast enough where it doesn't run on you. That's what you don't want it to do, is run. And you don't want to ball up and make a naughty looking letter either. Like I say, I'm putting the word embers on there now. And those Joe and him walked by then with their video camera. I may at some point get theirs and combine it with what I've got and come up with another video that people might like. Because they had a camera kind of similar to what I've got. Mine's a little bit bigger than what they had, but they had a good camera there too. I almost, to this day, I almost remember lettering that very sign on the back of that car. And it's like I say, and that's been 50-something years ago. But sometimes you just remember things that most people would just forget. I had a stroke back in 1996. Lost a lot of my short-term memory, but I can remember things back then that I can't remember yesterday. Things that I need to remember. I don't. Thank God I got my daughter and a bunch of other folks working at the shop that kind of maybe keep me straight, I don't intend to mislead anybody. I tell somebody something, usually I know what I'm talking about. At least I want them to know what I'm talking about. I don't ever remember wanting to lie to anybody about anything, but sometimes when you tell somebody something and it don't come to pass, then I think they automatically just think you're lying. And we're about 55 minutes into this video. Of course, if I put this on Facebook, I'll probably have to split it up into several parts. Maybe nobody wants to sit and watch me do this for 2 hours straight. That's about how long I worked on this car, is about 2 hours. It'd be kind of boring just to sit there and watch that little brush moving around. I know I'd go to sleep if I had to sit and watch that. That's about like golf. I just can't, never have been able to get that game. You hit a little ball toward a hole, you walk a mile and a half to retrieve it, and then you knock it a little farther. I don't know. A guy asked me one time, would I like to go shoot some golf? And I said, well, yeah, but what kind of gun do I use? Of course, I was just joking, but that's about the way I feel about that kind of thing. I'm not a football man. I'm not a basketball man. I'm not anything. I do two things that I do love, and that's the sign business and preaching the gospel and teaching the Word of God. I love it. I love it. I love it. And probably will do it. I always said I would sure love to die in the pulpit teaching or doing something like that. That would be the ultimate of my life, is to lay down and just pass on from doing what God said for me to do. I got born again back in 1974. And we learned how to pray. I never prayed anything. The only time I ever went close to a church was a Salvation Army, and most time I showed up there, like my book would tell you, because I had the 8 tomato juice. I love the 8 tomato juice. I don't drink as much of it as I used to, but I love it. I mean, it's simply just love it. And anytime I think of it today, I'll grab that big old bottle of it and get it chilled in the refrigerator. I'll sit there and drink the whole big bottle, which is probably not good for you, but that's what I do. Now, you should notice I finished the word embers there. And they're going to bring me a stool here in a minute, and I'm going to sit down and do something, but I'm going to sit down a little farther than what I intended to. They bring me this stool. I'll probably put this elf on first, then they'll bring me a stool to sit on. And you watch that stool. When I sit down on it, it is what they call a drummer's throne. It's where a little stool that a drummer sits on. And it's kind of got a knee action to it to make it softer on the drummer. But boy, this one here was really soft. It went down so fast I almost fell. You see, I went over and grabbed the stool that I wanted. They had several different stools over there. I've always wanted to invent a stool for sign painters. You know, my stool for years and years and years was a RC Cola case or Coca-Cola bottle case. I'd sit on them things, man, and I wore out many, many, many RC Cola cases. It wasn't very hard to come by. I used one I know for 10 years until it finally just fell all to pieces. And I had people, I'd bring it in and set it down on the floor. Boy, you going to sit on it, you're going to fall and break your neck. I said, no, it'll hold me. And sure enough, one day over at P.B. Crowell's garage, that thing gave away with me, and I hit the floor, and paint flew up in the air and come down and got all over me. But I went and got me another one right around the corner at the grocery store. I asked him, did they have an extra case around? The guy went back in the bag and got me one and brought it out. I used that for a long, long time. I believe it said Sunkist or something like that on it. But I missed my old RC Cola case, so I finally wound up with one of them again. You know, you got there, you have 3 adjustments. You can sit down low on the side. Well, you can start off on the floor, sitting right down against the floor, 4 inches off the floor. Then you can move it up on the side and put you up about 16 inches. Then the other one can put you up about 24 inches. So that was always a pretty good adjustment. I'm working on this flame kist here. Flame kist steaks. It was famous for the charcoal taste in the steaks. That's one of the things people really enjoyed about that place. from what I was able to get from other people, Mr. Donahoe told me about how good their steaks was, and I said, well, I probably won't never get to experience that, but he always said, Binkley, I'll carry you down there one night, you and your wife, and we'll have a steak. And he said, it'll be on me. And it never did take place. And he died with that promise on his lips, I believe. I remember that man so well. Him and Mark Parrish and Benny Goodman, all of them was always really good to me, especially Mr. Donahoe. We had a lot